to Sugar Coated. I'm your host, Adrienne Garland, the CEO and founder of She Leads Media. For far too long, women have been conditioned to sugarcoat their words, their actions, and the way they show up in the world, and to conform to certain cultural norms and ideals. This is inherently designed to keep those who are outside of the norm from gaining power, prestige, wealth, and influence, preventing more women from being recognized and respected as the powerful leaders that we truly are. Join me each week as we dive into raw conversations with remarkable, uncompromising, and inspirational women that will encourage you to strip away your sugarcoating and move boldly in the direction of your magnificent dreams. This episode is brought to you by She Leads Live. It's the conference for women entrepreneurs and leaders, taking place in New York City on November 10th and 11th, 2022. We cannot wait to see you there. We're coming back after a couple of years taking off, and we cannot wait to share our thoughts, our ideas, and network with all of you live in New York City. So go out and get your tickets today. You can go to sheleadsmedia.com and look for She Leads Live 2022, or you can go over to Eventbrite where the tickets are sold. Just search She Leads Media and look for She Leads Live 2022. See you then. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sugar Coated. I am so honored and excited today to welcome our guest. Her name is Kim Liautaud, and she's the managing director of BMO. It's the sixth largest bank in North America, a very large financial institution with multiple divisions. Welcome to Sugar Coated, Kim.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for our conversation to happen. You know, it's so important for women entrepreneurs to really understand their finances, their wealth position, and just how to sort of grow their businesses in general. And I think oftentimes we don't take the time that's necessary to really educate ourselves around all of the different financial options that we have. So I'm so excited to just sort of talk about that. But before we do, you are a leader of a major financial institution. And so I'd like to hear just a little bit about your story and your background and how did you get to this leadership position at BMO?
Well, thank you. I have been at BMO for 10 and a half years as a member of their commercial real estate team. And over those 10 and a half years, what I've really appreciated at BMO is their support and interest in advancing females in the organization. And so I have had the opportunity to rise to more meaningful leadership levels over the last 10 and a half years. I've been for 5 years running their commercial real estate business, and this year have taken on responsibility for a couple of other divisions within the commercial bank. So my success at BMO, a function of their support of women, of their recognition of hard work.
Great. It's beautiful. How did you actually get into banking in the first place? How, did you go to school for finance? Let's take us back a little bit.
Yeah, so I went to school for accounting and really thought that I would go into public accounting. That was sort of my plan. And it was important to me because I grew up the child of two school teachers who encouraged me to think differently and think about opportunity. And I always wanted to live in Chicago. And so accounting was something I was interested in. The jobs were plentiful and paid me enough to move to Chicago. That was kind of my thought process when I got into accounting. I ended up never working in a true accounting job. And to that, I credit a college that offered recruiting and optionality. And I literally stumbled into a job in finance because I pursued all options available to me. And I found a job at a finance company coming right out of college that hit all my boxes, right? It paid me enough. It was in Chicago. It was what led me down the lending path versus and more finance oriented than accounting. But certainly the numbers and the business background helped me find the job.
Well,
and I've loved it. I've stayed in it ever since.
so that speaks volumes. And I mean, I can relate to you. Both of my parents were teachers as well. And I too, I got my undergrad degree in economics and found my way into finance, just like you, not at a bank, at a different type of a financial institution. But it seems like we sort of come from the same background a little bit. Yeah. And our paths are, very different, which I think is just testament to what you go to school to study doesn't necessarily mean that that's the exact job that you're going to have when you get out of school. For all of those people who are listening that, think that they have to stick to what they sort of studied. Right. There's so much wisdom in being able to see opportunity and to take it and to see where that takes you in turn. Right. So I love that you said that your parents encouraged you to think differently, which sort of got you here. And what I know about BMO is that the organization is committed to thinking differently and to supporting entrepreneurs, and more specifically, women entrepreneurs. So can you talk a little bit about BMO? And you had mentioned when we were first discussing this topic that you really feel that BMO is sort of was ahead of the curve when it came to support of women entrepreneurs. So can you just talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I think what we believe at BMO, and always have, that you have to be very intentional rather than maybe make big, bold proclamations. We try to be intentional. When I talk about intentional, it's resources and it's capital, and it's not just saying it, but doing it. Having our U.S. headquarters in Chicago has admittedly created opportunities for us because we teamed up in 2020 specifically with 1871. And so 1871 is I'll call it an incubator. And it's located here in Chicago. So that was helpful, right, in creating kind of that opportunity. And so we teamed up with 1871 with building a Women in FinTech program that BMO participates in, and we have every year since. And it is a very specific and intentional program that BMO puts money and resources towards. And it is a 12-week program. 1871 helps us to select participants in that program. And for 12 weeks, we offer mentoring, we offer connections, we offer advice, and our own human resources to help these women founders through the program.
That's wonderful. It reminds me, I attended the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program back in 2018. Now it feels like just yesterday, but it was a long time ago now. And it's very similar. And I think that I commend BMO for putting the resources behind that, because I do think that women need community and also mentorship and instruction in order to not only start these really innovative type of companies, but also to learn, how do you go about growing and scaling these businesses? And then I would think also, how do you get access to the capital that you need in order to continue that momentum?
Right.
So, yeah. And so just a quick question about the incubator in that program. So is that only for businesses that are in the Chicago area, or is that all over the United States? People can participate?
No, it started as more of a Chicago-based program because if you think about it, it kicked off in 2020. I think it launched, if I'm not mistaken, it launched like April 2020. So, kind of participants were selected before we started to experience the lockdown effect of COVID, right? So those initial were all Chicago based. And 1871 was an on-site hub, right? Now, fast forward, the world has changed, right?
Yep.
so,
Yep.
so as often as I complain about virtual meetings, because I am of the generation that still, I like to get together with people, and it's hard for me to communicate with my team all of the time virtually. We did learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And so now what we have found, the round of entrepreneurs that just participated with us in the program, all over.
Oh, great.
So, for everything that maybe COVID took away from us, there were certainly some improvements to how we do our business and do it maybe with a wider net. So it is US focused.
Great.
And we have had entrepreneurs go through the program largely on a virtual basis. They of course, we have been fortunate enough that the world opened up and we could spend some time face to face. But no, the requirements really are, there is a woman founder and their focus is on fintech.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, this is an incredible resource that I can't wait to share with the audience because sometimes, there are many of these incubator programs, but it's sort of few and far between to find a really great incubator program that is specifically focused on women entrepreneurs and then also in fintech. And I think that fintech is such an incredible area for women to get into because it has the capability of allowing us to, design and develop new solutions that are more oriented toward women. The finance industry, as we both know, in the past, and, I think it's still like this in many places, it is heavily male dominated. So, of course, the different products and solutions that are coming out of that industry are going to be, I would say, biased toward men. There's not a lot of interesting fintech products that feel inherently, designed by a woman. So I'm really excited about this industry in general. And I know that we do have a lot of women in the She Leads community that are working in this field. So I can't wait to sort of share this resource with them.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, that you could talk about where BMO helps women entrepreneurs, whether that's from a financing perspective or, like a maybe even a mentoring perspective, but like a business development perspective?
Sure. So beyond some of the formal programs with 1871, like we talked about, just this year in 2022, BMO announced a commitment of $5 billion in capital that we have dedicated to helping women entrepreneurs. So there, sort of step outside of the fintech focus, we have been very, very committed and will continue to be in lending to women entrepreneurs. And that's really at all sizes. You'll find BMO very committed to providing capital to women owners, women founders in all industries and very publicly.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So sometimes, what I hear from our audience or just from people that I speak to is that it's difficult to get access to financing. And there's a lot of advice that's out there that says, form a relationship with your local banker so that they truly understand, who you are, what your business is about. When you have that more personal relationship, it's maybe easier that if you don't, look perfect on paper, that the banker can help you to do what you need in order to secure that financing. There's also, just studies done that say that women have worse credit scores, which prevent them from getting access to this kind of capital. And one of the reasons is because they're using credit cards to fund their business. And, a missed payment can severely damage your credit. And so because women don't have access to funding as readily, and then they're using a vehicle like a credit card, they're harming their credit score, which then prevents them from the ability to even, get the money in the first place. So it's this terrible, cycle that happens. Yeah. Do you have any advice for women that might either be stuck in that cycle or, how can they set themselves up so that when they do approach BMO, that they are more likely to be approved for financing?
Well, you know, here's what I would say. The truth is that a lot of entrepreneurs, men and women, don't show up with the best FICO score. Okay? Because
Yeah.
they are using any and all resources they can find. Oftentimes, as you point out, they will rely on credit card debt. So what I think the bigger issue is, women have a harder time promoting themselves and maybe being transparent. Okay.
Mm,
So I would encourage people to be willing to have those personal conversations with their banks, with their lenders, understand that their lenders will listen to a story. Okay.
mm.
It's not just FICO score. It's not all just credit score. Be willing to present your story and not apologize for it, not feel bad about it. Be rational and open and honest with your lenders. I think another issue is oftentimes when women entrepreneurs show up, they're not talking to me, they're talking to a male. And that
Mhm.
sometimes impacts the how the story is told. And so I'm super
Mm.
excited because I happen to think I work for an organization that has been very progressive in promoting women in the organization. There are more and more women in banking. And so I think that the ability to tell the story and the narrative and do it safely with people that you trust and maybe look more like you will be helpful too.
Yeah. So is that something, I guess it's dependent upon the area where, BMO has uh, branch locations, or even if it's, over the phone. How can women, if they are sort of assigned a banker who is a male, would it be looked down upon to say, I'd really, you're great. I'd really love to be able to just kind of share my story and connect with a female banker. Is that something that we can even ask for?
Yeah, that might be a little bit more challenging, but what I would also say is use all the resources available, right?
Mm,
There's LinkedIn, there are ways to make connections. Talking to someone who generationally didn't grow up with social media and the technology that exists today, I know for myself, I've been able to figure out how to navigate some of that and use it to my advantage. And I would just say, I'm amazed by women entrepreneurs. I am not an entrepreneur. They are risk takers,
hmm.
smart people with great ideas. Apply that to how you find financing.
Yeah.
So look around, look on LinkedIn. I get all kinds of messages from people who find me on LinkedIn, and I might not be the right resource for them, but I can help them find the right resource. So do not be beholden to walking into a branch and randomly working with the person maybe sitting at the desk that day.
Yeah.
And not that I mean we have great people in our branches ready, willing, and able to help people. I think that the same intentionality that BMO applies to committing resources to women entrepreneurs, they have to be intentional as well when they think about capitalizing their businesses, whether it's through investors or through lenders. To be just as
Yeah.
intentional about that and think about it and find those resources.
That's such a terrific message to sort of tap into your problem solving abilities and everything that makes you a wonderful entrepreneur and apply that in the world of finance as well. There's definitely no doubt about the fact that finance is scary for a lot of women, which is, I think, what you mentioned before, be transparent. I think it's tough for us to have confidence in our story and the numbers because there is a lot of shame around money, making decisions because we have to. And so it does feel shameful almost to sort of reveal maybe some of the things that we did that we didn't want to do. But I do think that this is such an incredible message for everybody to hear. Like, don't be afraid, share your story, do it anyway, which is what
Yeah.
you need to do as an entrepreneur.
It is exactly what you have to do as an entrepreneur. And it's funny because, not to make it just about males and females, but a male would walk in and tell you how proud they are that they started that business and used credit cards.
Yeah.
Right. Because they think it shows entrepreneurship that, like they'll tell you they opened multiple credit cards to pay for it all. Right. And they were just maxing every one of them out. Right. And a woman kind of apologizes for it because it impacts their credit score. So changing that dialogue and that narrative a little bit.
I agree. I just really love this message so much. So this $5 billion in capital that's dedicated to helping women entrepreneurs, is that sort of money that's set aside to specifically fund women's businesses? Is that something that's available as, let's say, supporting different programs or initiatives that others are putting into place? Can you talk a little bit about what that actually means?
Well, I guess it means yes to everything. So what we're trying to do is that is a lot of money. Some of that is in support of the program at 1871 that we talked about.
Sure.
Then some of it will be specifically to women entrepreneurs doing things outside of fintech. And some of it will be grants and support of organizations supporting women. So that's a hard question to answer because we want that money to make its way and be as resourceful as possible. It will be invested and distributed very, very, very broadly. Hopefully that answers it.
Yeah, no, the reason that I'm asking it is because, this podcast is called Sugar Coated, right? And so we really want to make sure that we are uncovering and teasing apart what some of these things mean. Because as you know, there are a lot of companies out there that say that they are committed to women entrepreneurs, that they're committed to women, and they will either only fund a nonprofit organization or they will only fund something that sort of, looks good. So I really like to push maybe a little bit into the zone of the uncomfortable so that I can truly understand, what does that mean? And especially for women that are doing great things, there are so many women that are in the She Leads community that are doing incredible things. Like there is somebody that's speaking at our conference, which is happening in November. And she is a single mom here in New York, and she created the Mom Film Fest. And so the whole mission behind that, and it's a for-profit organization, but the mission behind that is to get, mom filmmakers making films and providing the outlet to share their films with the world. So, an organization, it's a company like that is, I think, very worthy. But if, a lot of times, and I've experienced this myself, I'm a for-profit organization. When I reach out to some of these companies that say that they support women, they close the door on me because I'm not a nonprofit organization. And I think that sends a very wrong message to a lot of women entrepreneurs that are, they're committed to purpose and profit. We need, as women, to be able to have access to money. Money is power. Money, moves markets and raises communities and does so much to help, but we can't do it constantly begging and turning all of our brilliant solutions into nonprofit organizations is just not going to move us forward. So,
well, I couldn't agree with you more, both in terms of your comment of, a lot of companies saying a lot of good things, but what's it actually mean, right?
Yeah.
And some of our efforts are very public, right? Like the fintech program that we've talked enough about, but others are maybe, less identifiable. And we're of the mindset that this is about building equity. It really is. And through the fintech program, the women are certainly building for-profit ventures. We are helping them raise capital for those businesses. And that is certainly very focused. We will support nonprofits as well. And we do some grassroots stuff too. So at Summerfest, are you familiar with Summerfest?
No.
So Summerfest is a big week-long music festival in Milwaukee every summer. And we are a big sponsor of Summerfest. And part of Summerfest includes some vendors.
Yeah.
Many of those vendors, we're very focused on finding vendors that are women owned companies. And they are selling products that, maybe they're selling candles, maybe they're selling jewelry. These are just starting out women entrepreneurs at the very kind of base level.
I love that.
And they're interested in, and again, we're not talking about loans from BMO to these folks, but our support of Summerfest supports being able to offer that kind of opportunity and growth and building out their businesses. That's why when you ask, it goes a lot of places, and it will support for-profit, not-for-profit, big, small, first round,
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. And so that's what I think is really, I want the message around BMO's commitment to this to be, we don't think it's one solution. We're very proud of everything that we're doing and supporting as many women entrepreneurs, but their goals and their businesses are going to all look a little bit different.
Yeah. That's so wonderful to hear. And thank you so much for just sharing all of that, because really you don't hear that, in the media, in the press release. It doesn't really go into that kind of detail. And I know that I appreciate that very much. And I know that our audience will appreciate that very much too. And I'm going to ask you another question. Of course, the Milwaukee Festival, it sounds amazing. So many people coming together, which does give an incredible opportunity for these women to, sell what they've made, their makers. I'm so committed to sort of going back to that because there's such beauty in everybody putting their heart and their soul into that product that they're making. And some of these larger companies like Amazon doesn't always, has sort of maybe made it very difficult for some of these creative individuals to make it. If a woman, like I'm just using the Mom Film Fest as an example, if somebody like the Mom Film Fest wanted to inquire about support for her company, how would she go about? And this goes for everybody, right? How you're going to get flooded with inquiries, but how would someone go about sort of just reaching out, letting you know their story and how BMO could potentially help them boost up what it is that they're doing?
So again, I don't know, you'll probably get tired of hearing me say it, but a little bit of intentionality behind it all, right?
Yep.
I would encourage people with BMO, do a little bit of research on BMO. It matters to us that you know us when you come to us, right? So lots of resources, check out our website, and the website will help direct people perhaps to the right individuals. You'll know something about your business. You can look at the products and businesses that BMO has options for and find the right person. I'd say, do a little bit of research on that person on LinkedIn too before you reach out to them. And again, it's just thinking about that entry point and really showing up prepared. So I'd say a little bit of homework before you start the outreach will be helpful. And then you're going to get you're going to have someone who wants to listen to that when you get here. So I guess that's where I would start. And again, being intentional about it and being prepared. And, nothing bothers me more than getting a phone call from someone that, clearly found my phone number or found my email, but doesn't know anything about me, doesn't know what I know, and they're not prepared. And I can tell. So set yourself up for success, right? There is some things people can do to pave the way for more success. But as you said so well, capital is so critical to the success of a business, that you've got to think about it. You got to be smart about it and prepare for it and prepare for those conversations.
Yeah, I love this. It's preparation and intentionality. And then I think also vulnerability in being able to share your challenges and your story as well, the good and the bad. I think that's incredible advice. And I really appreciate you spending the time and giving us a lot of background about yourself and about BMO and the different programs. I know for me, this has been really incredible, very eye-opening. And I am guilty of sometimes doing a outreach, especially when I'm very committed to my outcome, without taking the required time that I think is absolutely critical. And maybe instead of reaching out to so many, reaching out to, a handful or a little bit more than that. But having spent that other time really doing that background and that research. This is good advice, I think, in general, right? Not just for reaching out to sort of ask about how can I get financing, but even, strategic partnerships or just developing relationships with somebody that could be really good for your business. Taking the time to do that research is critical. And I love the word, with intention, and the intentionality behind things. I think that people can recognize how genuine that is. And people do business with other people, right? It's like BMO as a company is a brand, but you're going to be connecting with the person like you who is the representative of the brand. And you want to make sure that you feel that someone took enough time to care also about you. It's always a two-way street. So Kim, I just appreciate you and I appreciate the time that you've spent with me here today. And I just, I would love for people, if they did want to maybe, reach out and connect with you, just to sort of share where they can do that.
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn, Kim Liautaud at BMO. Find me on LinkedIn. That is the best way. And I do pay attention. It is the only social media that I really pay attention to. So you can find me there. And I promise that I will be helpful. And if I'm not the right resource, we'll find some resources that are the right ones.
Wonderful. Well, Kim, thank you so much and have a beautiful rest of the day.
Very good. Thank you very much. It was nice to meet you.
You too.